19 days, shocking new numbers showing a national epidemic hitting a little too close to home.
The family of a decorated military sergeant praying for justice tonight as a jury deliberates over the fate of his accused murderer.
But first, the White House says tonight it has nothing to do with the departure of FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe just weeks before his planned retirement. But President Trump stands by his criticism of McCabe's role in the Hillary Clinton email probe and the ongoing Russian hacking investigation. House Republicans have voted to release a classified Intelligence Committee memo accusing the FBI and Justice Department of improperly using government surveillance during the Russia investigation. That's according to the committee's ranking Democrat. And the Cleveland Indians are getting with the times. The team is removing its Chief Wahoo logo from their jerseys and caps. The logo has been in use since 1947, but critics argue it's racist and offensive. Atlanta has gained a nasty international reputation as a hub for human trafficking. Today, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms announced new policies aimed at fighting the buying and selling of children, women, and men. A major piece of this appalling puzzle is sex trafficking. And tonight, a bus full of lawmakers got a chance to see the problem for themselves firsthand. Christy Etheridge rode that bus with that group tonight. And Christy, this tour has a unique name. It's called the Unholy Tour.
That's right, and it's called that because we were taken to some of the unholiest places in Atlanta, places where 13 and 14-year-olds are sold for sex. And even though we talk about it, it just feels different when you actually see it. Commissioner Tim Echols started this bus tour, and he was inspired because of a scene in the movie Amazing Grace. It's when they pull up behind a slave boat and they can smell the stench and actually see the shackles. He says he wanted legislators to actually see the places where girls are being taken advantage of.
Because I really want all of our elected officials to be keenly aware of just how horrific this is. It is ruining the lives of young women. When a girl is sold 5, 10, 15 times a day, there is no way, really, I think, to ever recover from that.
Now, the woman guiding the tour on the bus tonight was Casey McClure. She worked in the industry for several years, so she knows about the horrors that go on. But now she's founded a ministry called For Sarah. It helps reach out to girls at strip clubs and online on places like Backpage.com. But I want to show you this map because this is the route we took around Atlanta. She talked us through the trip as we made stops at the Greyhound bus station, at Mercedes-Benz, and then all along Fulton Industrial Boulevard, where we stopped at several strip clubs and hotels. She chose all of those stops tonight for a special reason.
I think they need to see places that we're going to tonight just because it's really easy to talk about it and see it on the news and think that it's in another country. But when you get on that bus and you actually see, wait, I used to live down this street, or I know someone that lived down this street, or I know somebody that knew that girl, and it just makes it more real and makes it not so far away, but actually very close to home.
There were about 16 legislators on the bus tonight, but that's not all that was on board. We also had law enforcement and educators and medical professionals who all stood up and talked about what they're doing to identify people who have been exploited and how it takes everybody in the community to help rid ourselves of this problem. In Atlanta, Christy Etheridge, 11 Alive News.
And 11 Alive is committed to bringing attention to the growing problem of sex trafficking. Our recent series, Selling Girls, takes a hard look at how these criminals are targeting America's children and then peddling them to the highest bidders. Here's some sobering and shocking numbers that we found in our investigation. 83% of sex trafficking victims in this country are U.S. citizens. 94% of them are girls. The average age of the victims, only 15 and a half. The internet is, of course, a big part of trafficking. At some point, 63% of child sex trafficking survivors were advertised online. And then look at this. 100,000 new escort ads are posted online every day. And all of that data are children who are trafficked for sex. So what's being done? The first inclusive federal law to address human trafficking was passed back in 2000. However, children can still be charged with the crime of prostitution in 31 states. That's even though by definition, they are victims of trafficking and not criminals. 19 states do not define child sex trafficking as a form of child abuse. And you can hear stories from those who survived and learn more about the warning signs right now on 11alive.com. Just search for the Selling Girls investigation. It's been 16 months since retired Sergeant Major Randy Smith was gunned down while doing some work at his family's rental property. Prosecutors say 16-year-old Tariq Vasquez is responsible. He's now on trial, and a jury will decide if he's guilty. Natisha Lance was in court today. Natisha?
Ryan, that case is now in the hands of jurors. They were given the case about 2 o'clock this afternoon, and they deliberated for just about 4 hours. Our camera was the only one that was in court today when the widow of Sergeant Randy Smith waited. She was surrounded by friends and family. She has affectionately referred to them as her prayer warriors, as they have been with her throughout this entire ordeal over the last 16 months since her husband's brutal murder. And I had a chance to speak with Angela Smith after court today. She believes the prosecution proved their case against Tariq Vasquez, and if the verdict comes back tomorrow, she says she is only ready to hear one verdict.
Our client is absolutely unequivocally innocent of these charges. There's absolutely no motive. There's no reason for him to have done this. He's a good kid. He was a good kid, not so much as a jaywalking ticket. And so, you know, that's really been our goal throughout this trial, is pointing that out.
Okay, and actually that was the defense for Tariq Vasquez, who is talking about why they believe that he should be proven innocent. Meanwhile, as I said, the widow of Sergeant Randy Smith.
Our client is absolutely unequivocally innocent of these charges. There's absolutely no motive. There's no reason for him to have done this. He's a good kid. He was a good kid, not so much as a jaywalking ticket. And so, you know, that's really been our goal throughout this trial, is pointing that out.
All right, well, jurors will be back in court tomorrow to resume their deliberations at about 9:15 in the morning. There's no way for us to tell how long it will take for them to come up with their verdict. But if Tariq Vasquez is convicted, then he will face a mandatory charge of spending life in prison.
All right,
Ryan.
Natisha, thank you. It's starting to sound like a broken record. More people are dying from drug overdoses. And some new numbers from one Metro Atlanta county are simply stunning. In Cherokee County, 9 people have died in 19 days. 3 people died on one day. That was January 14th. According to the GBI, toxicology results are not yet back, but all 9 of these cases are suspected drug-related deaths. And that would be an increase of 150% from last year. The agency also tells us that Cherokee County is always the first or second highest county for drug deaths. It averages 35 to 45 per year. And it's a wide range of drugs we're talking about. That includes heroin, methadone, and oxycodone. 11 Alive has been investigating overdose deaths in Metro Atlanta for more than a year. Back in 2016, the Atticus team uncovered a 4,000% spike in heroin-related deaths inside an area that we call the Triangle. You can watch that entire investigation on 11alive.com.